Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game, and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. It's my opponent to go first, and I have got a terrible rack. I've got 6 vowels, and no high-scoring tiles. I am considering changing. If I do change, I think it's a choice between keeping E or keeping E-A-L. Well, my opponent looks like he may also have had vowel problems. Now I could play E-U-O-U-A-E. Let me see what that looks like. E-U-O-U-A-E. Well, it certainly sorts out the vowel problem, although may invite a consonant problem later. 10 points, better than changing. And that's pretty good. Olfacts is good. U-Ui takes an S. I'm not sure about Sumu. I'd have to think about that. But in any event, I've also got olfacts in row I, making S. Making US, rather. I don't think olfacts has got any anagrams. But do I have an 8-letter bingo through any of the floaters? And in particular, do I have an 8-letter bingo in row E, perhaps as a double-double? Looks like there may be something there. Well, that's been blocked in any event. So, do I have somewhere better for olfacts as a result of my opponent's play? No, I don't. I don't think I have a bingo beginning with the U of Umu, which would be tripled. 81 points. That's pretty poor. Triplicate tiles are almost always non-bingo-y and problematic and difficult to sort out in one go. I think Warrant is good. I could play that in row I, but it would be setting up a good scoring opportunity for my opponent with the triple word square at H1. So maybe I can do better than that. I certainly want to play off the W, and I think I want to play off 2 R's. Ah, look at this. Fantastic. I've got Warrant down here. I hope this is good. I'm pretty sure it is. I just have a slight doubt. And it's going to score, well, 56 points. I have Readier. And that plays in row I. Does it have any anagrams? I note for future reference that Locks takes an F in front. There is still one F unplayed. Readier also plays at L1, making odd, lie, fee, and R, and that's going to score a lot more than the row I placement. I don't think Readier has an anagram. Heroise, nice bingo by my opponent, and there goes the first blank. Heroise does take a D after it. So I could play Readier in row N, but I think score will be maximised with this placement. $83 points. And I retake the lead. Onto an A, I have Yakona. No A's available. I don't have a U for the Q. So my scoring run may be at an end. There is the U of Yumu, but I can't see a good way of using that. I may hang on to the Q for one turn, or for this immediate turn, if I've got the opportunity of sorting the rest of the rack out. And I would certainly want to play off the Y and the G if I held on to the Q. I'm looking around in case I've missed anywhere good for the Q. Can't see anywhere. I'd like to hang on to the A because it goes with the Q to make cat and caddy. I note that Jiao takes an L and an S after it for column 14. I don't have either of those tiles. Now what about the R of Redia? I could play Jaeger, 27 points, keeping QON. That doesn't feel great. What else have I got? I don't have a D or an S for going after Heroise. Well, what I could do with is my opponent playing an A. Mind you, that's not going to be the greatest play in the world. I will have a G after playing Yokona. Now what about column 2? Can I place my G or my Y on that triple letter square? That could score and get the play doubled. That could score well and obstruct column 1. I've got a 36-point lead at this point, which is quite slender given that my opponent is on turn. Now I'm looking underneath the M of Umu. I can place my Y there. So I'm looking at plays in row I and also in column 9. Gamey doesn't quite play in column 9 because AO isn't good. Can't see a good play in column 9. That would have to contain the sequence O, M, Y, and I don't have that. Well, I could play Jim in column 9, placing the Y above the M, keeping A, E, N, O, Q. That doesn't feel particularly great. So what about row I? Now, my opponent has played Zek at some point, while I was lost thinking about plays around Umu. So he has not provided an A for me. My Y can go underneath the K. I could play K, Y, E. Well, that has merit. The Y is certainly non-synergetic with the Q. I'd rather play off the E than the A because I'm retaining the Q. N and G have some synergy. 30 points is good. So, is there something better than this? Well, if there is, where would it play? I can't see anything in column 2. Well, I suppose column 1 I perhaps haven't thought through enough. Because this 5-tile keep is not good, I'd like to increase my chances of drawing a U or an I. And by playing KYE, I'm only drawing 2 fresh tiles. Now I could play Qua QUA in column 8. Through a U, I would have Quango. I've got 14 minutes left, 41 tiles left. Let me just put this back on the rack. I don't think that this is best. So if I'm going to keep the queue, I would like to play off a lot of tiles. How can I do that? If the R was one place higher, I could play orangey. I've got agony in row G, but that's not going to score very much. If I played in row N with my Y under the K, I would be providing an easy opportunity for my opponent to put an E at the end, so that's not good. So can I put my G? Well, I could play onager in column 1, but that's keeping the Y. I don't want to do that. I'm looking for a play which uses the G, the Y, and the R in column 1, and I feel that there is one there. I don't like Jaeger, I don't like the rack leave of QON. Goya isn't good. Anna G doesn't hit the triple word square, which is a shame. Well, I'm going to play Key, which is pretty much the same as Kai, but a slightly less dangerous position for the E. And that's pretty awful. I'd still have Quango through a U. Onto an E, I could play Dogvane, and I can do that in column 2, but it's not going to get doubled. But it would certainly play off a lot of tiles. Now, I don't know if the R is going to remain available in column 1. But if it does, what's my best play using it? Well, the R is a pretty useful tile, so it's surprising that I haven't had any good candidate moves either this go or the previous one. Now, I have drawn a D, so through an I would have Cade or Caddy. Neither is available. The rack leave in any event of GNOV is pretty poor. Well, that's not good. And there is the second blank. I'm just taking a note of what my opponent's got in my mind. He's got Pard, IU, blank. So challenge that off. So, do I play Dogvane? Well, at least the D gets tripled. Now, I hope I'm not providing a great spot for my opponent. So he had Pard, IU, blank. Rapid, U, blank. So onto a T, Upatrid or pre-audit. Not many floaters on this board, so really Dogvane is opening up the opportunity for him to play a 7. So he's got up Braid. And I have provided an opportunity to play that in column 3. So I better take this off. He may not know or spot up Braid, but I don't think it's a good idea to leave that available. So, what can I do? The V is quite a blocky tile. I am a bingo ahead, so it would be a good idea to shut down columns 1 and 2. So do I have a play beginning with V at H1? I don't think I do. Well, I could play vegan down here. It's pretty blocky. And I'm keeping the A available for my cue. 18 points. That doesn't feel great, but given that I know what my opponent's got, I think it's okay. I'm not really blocking rows G or I, so my opponent may have a bingo there, but it'll be a face value bingo. Wow, pretty awful. Maybe this is the time to change. Or maybe not. I could play blonde, keeping HQ. I've got the D for going after heroized to make heroized. Good, only 22 points for my opponent. Now I've got 9.5 minutes left and there are 33 tiles left and this board is getting quite tight. So I don't want to get into time trouble. Now, what about playing in row N? Do I have anything which goes after A, R, E? No, I don't. So what about a word beginning with E? And I'm looking for one which places the D at the end of heroized. Can't see one. What I could do is play Hod. Doesn't open anything up for my opponent. 26 points is just about better than changing. Well, maybe I should play in column 13 because column 14 is available as a bingo lane for my opponent. So what about a play of Hob down here? 26 points. It would be nice. It would be nice to play off one more consonant. So a play of hold or bold. Wow, I am struggling to see good moves tonight. It could be that the racks are tricky. But, well, I do at least have the cushion of a lead, and 26 points is keeping the scoring going. Okay, my rack continues to deteriorate. I have no vowels at all. But I have a D for going after A, R, E, so I could play Delft in row N, playing off 4 consonants. I think that is going to be better than changing. Great, only 15 points for my opponent. It's always fun to play your way through horrible racks, provided that this is the winningest thing to do. 22 points. And I draw an I for going with my cue. So I've got cheese in column 14, cheese and jows for over 30 points. The whole top left of the board is completely choked up, apart from rows G and I, which are face value bingo lanes. Column 15 for bingos ending in T is not exceptionally dangerous. I could play chins in column 14 lower down, making EHS as well. That's going to be 30 to 40 points. And all of these Q plays retain an E, so I'm in reasonable shape. I've got a 90-point lead at the moment, but I am expecting my opponent to bingo because I know he's got a blank. And he does, which is fine. Only 61 points. Now, where's the best place for my cue? There are 3 eyes unseen. So, I can play cheese here, 38 points. My opponent, if he's got an eye, can get an easy 40-point response. But if I play lower down, chins at J14, I think this is going to be better, because he's not going to be getting the cue tripled, and I'm playing off 1 more tile, which I want to do since I'm ahead. 39 points. So, is there somewhere better? I could play chin in column 9, but that's scoring less than 30 points. Chin and nay. Yeah, I think I will play this. I draw an eye. So do I have a play in column 15? Well, I may not do. Well, I have LWEI. That's over 30 points. I've got Wimpy on my rack. I can play that in column 9. 13 tiles left. Row G is quite a hot bingo lane. It's available for bingos ending ING, but even if such a bingo is played, it's only face value, and I am a bingo ahead. Okay, that goes. So, Wimpy in column 9. It is opening up column 8, the triple word square at A8, so it's not such a great play. And I think it's scoring scores in the high 20s, so it's not an amazing score. Now, I have got the L for going after jowl, and then if I play jowl, I've got the Y for making jowly. But I can't see a good way of using that. 9 tiles left. Maybe I should play at H1 across, because that's going to obstruct the bingo lane in row G, as well as the floaters for bingos in columns 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, I can play wipe for a big score. £39 points. That achieves everything I was hoping to achieve, and I'm retaining tiles for score next go. Just checking that there isn't anything better in the same spot, and I can't see anything. Jolly good. I draw some vowels. I don't think there are any bingo lanes on this board. And I have an 80-point lead, so I'm in reasonable shape. My opponent may choose to open the board up. If he does, I do not have a bingo on my rack, and well, I was going to say I can't see any 8s, but let me consider specifically the floaters in danger. Well, my opponent has only 6 tiles on his rack. He cannot bingo. So I don't have to obstruct bingo lanes. But do I have a bingo myself? Can't see anything through the E or the N or the D. No, I can't see a bingo there. Now, can my opponent go out with his 6 tiles? Onto an E, he would have vintage, but Gumu isn't good. I don't think he's got a 6-letter out. Vanting may be good, I'm not sure. So I think I ought to play around Endanger. How can I do that? I've got 3 minutes left. Well, I could play Yam down here. Keeping Clan. That's 32 points, which is good. I can now play Clan in column 9, making Ni. Do I have a second out for Clan? Well, I don't, but since this game is what? I could play Liam. That's better, scores more. Now I need 2 spots for Can. Well, there's Can and N in row G, Can and Nay in column 9, and Canid in column 2. I don't think all of those are going to be blocked. I haven't checked to see whether I've provided opportunities for my opponent to make an 8-letter word through the letter pairs I've created by playing Liam, but even if he does, he is not going to win this game. I've got 2 minutes left. If my opponent doesn't go out, where is the best place for Can? 10 points for Canid in column 2. 11 for Can and Nay in column 9. 9 for Can and Ner. Canny. Row C. 20 points. Well, I think that's probably the best that's available on this board. My opponent's got just under 10 minutes left. CANN is good, and that plays in row F. Well, that's a shame. My opponent has blocked my fabulous canny play. So, I've got Can and Nay down here for 11 points. Is there anything better? Just scanning the board. Not meticulously, but just having a quick sweep. Yep, can't see anything better. And the final score, 359 for my opponent, 457 for me, a winning margin of 98 points. So quite a large margin of victory in the end. Let's see what I missed. It was my opponent to go first. I played Ui, that looks best. Now I had Olfacts, and that was the only bingo, and the K4 spot was the highest scoring one. Oh, my opponent has Foxholes through an F, but my F was not in the right spot for that. Warwick for 56. Quite fortunate that that spot suddenly became available. Heroise, nice bingo by my opponent. I came back with Redia at L1, and that looks like the best spot. But interestingly, Rarefied and Derailer and Rerailed were also available, which I didn't consider, but Redia was best. This is where my rack started to deteriorate and then continued to deteriorate. K at 8M. Well, that's where I played key, and the reason for that is that I preferred retaining the A because of its synergy with the Q. Now, what did my opponent have with this rack when he phonied? Wow, look at that. He had a 9-timer per trade. Very difficult word to spot. He also had pagurid, unpaired, and upraised. And I had a Q and a V and a G. Wow, these are all low scores. What did I do? This is where I played vegan, and this is because I knew what my opponent had. Therefore, I wanted to obstruct the R and the E. In fact, I was obstructing a 9-timer. And having obstructed many of his bingos, the only remaining bingo that was playable was G14, pagurid, making hip and eater. Unfortunately for me, my opponent didn't spot that. What did I do with this rack? Alright, this is where I played hob, and that looks fine. Did my opponent have a bingo here? No, he didn't. Delft, that was my play. This is where my opponent bingoed with dirtier. And I had a choice of where to play my Q. Now, what I didn't think about was playing QI at H1, which would have been interesting. It would have retained the S, which isn't fabulously useful on this board. But it wouldn't have been opening up opportunities for my opponent to score with an I, which both of the column 14 placements did. So I suspect QI at H1 may actually be the best play. Although keeping 4 consonants to 1 vowel isn't ideal. This would be an interesting move to analyse. This was my opponent's rack. He didn't have any bingos, although his rack looks quite bingo-y. And wipe at H1 I think was best. Nice, another nice rack for my opponent. And again, he didn't have a bingo. And this is right at the end. My opponent has only got 6 tiles on his rack, so he cannot bingo, and I knew the game was won. Wow, cyanamide, B2. Okay, that's very nice. Column 2 playing onto the I and D of wipe and dirtier for 36 points. Instead, I played... Well, actually, my play is better. Liam is for the same number of points, and I'm going to score more with ACN, I think, than with the L. But, of course, the L by itself could be put on the end of Jow. My opponent didn't have an out here. And finally, 11 points for Can at C9. Yep, that was my play, and that was the most that was available. So, an interesting game. Nice to win by a large margin. There were some good bingos in that game and some very tricky racks to deal with. The UI's rack was swamped with vowels, and later on I had several Q racks, and the choices there were very much whether to change or whether to play through them. And I think there were some difficult decisions there, because although I chose to play through them, the rack leaves I was keeping were quite poor, so it's not necessarily the case that my moves were better than changing. So I think there were several positions in that game which merit further analysis. So I hope you enjoyed watching that game and got something out of it. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.